Hey guys, welcome back. Today's going to be 370Z oil change day. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a slowed down version, slash just kind of a way for people that have never changed their oil before to do it. I've done it a couple times in this car, and I figured I'd make a video for anybody looking how to do it on this particular car or in general. So first we're going to go over what kind of stuff that you need. So we're going to have your oil for Nissan. They recommend like a Nissan ester oil, but Z1, if you go to their site, they sell a full kit: filter, oil, and then the crush washer, all for this car. Cheaper than you can actually buy that specific oil for, like on Amazon or something. So I would recommend going that way. Then you're also going to need a jack stands, some socket sets, place to drain your oil, and then I use like a little pad like this for just putting underneath the car so I don't ruin my garage any more than it already is, as you can see. And then also you might need a pair of gloves because the oil filter on the 370Z is actually pretty hard to get out sometimes. Even if you don't crank it down for some reason, some sort of like pressure builds up and they're really hard to get off. And then after you're done with the oil, you can either put it back in your containers, but if you got a bunch of those little small ones like I got, it's kind of hard. So I actually bought this guy since I have 3 cars and I changed all my oils, and I just put the dirty stuff in there, and then you take it back to AutoZone. And then you're gonna need a filter, not a filter, a funnel to fill the car up. So we will go ahead and kind of pull. We're gonna, first step, as Mighty Car Mods always says, jack up the car. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you where the jack points are on this car. And then we'll pop the hood and get everything ready and to drain. So as I said before, first step is to jack up your car. So on Nissan, there is a subframe. You're probably not going to be able to see it, but there is like a whitish colored subframe right behind the plastics on the bottom of the car. Now, if you have a jack that can reach that far, good for you, because I don't know what Nissan was thinking, but it's almost impossible to reach. So you can jack up the whole front of the car at one time, and I've got a pretty nice, like, long, low-profile jack, and it rolls underneath the car, but not anywhere close long enough to reach it. So the other option is there is a pinch weld right here, or you can go back to see where this loop is, right here. That is the towing point for the car, and this is the frame rail of the car right here. So you can, jack it up from here and then put your jack stand here, or vice versa, whatever you're more comfortable with. And you're going to do that on both sides, and then you're just going to go slow, do one side at a time, and then do the other side. And then if you're looking for the rear jack point on the car, it is the diff on this car, which, depending on the exhaust that you have, can also be hard to get to. I actually can't reach it with this exhaust. So we will go ahead and jack up the car, and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, now that it's jacked up, I'm going to kind of show you what's going on here. So you can see here, I've got it on the pinch weld. I recommend getting some, they sell like little rubber things that go over this so that you don't bend your pinch weld like this, but there's not much I can do about that right now. So, but again, you can jack up from here, and then you can you can jack up from these points right here, this whole frame rail. Not this. You can see somebody else already did. Don't do that. That's the toe point, and I don't think it has very much structural rigidity. But yeah, you can jack up from here and then put your jack stand here, and that is the factory jack points on this car. And then just repeat, guys, once your car's jacked up, you got your oil cap right here, which I already took off. Kind of just put that off to the side so you can let it breathe. And then if you get under here, make sure your e-brake's on and everything. You got this plastic covering shield. Got some cup in here. Oh, cool. You got a bunch of, I think they're 8 mils, and then on the back some 10 mil bolts that you got to get off. So just take all these off, keep them off to the side, and then move your cover out, and then you'll be good to go down here. Alright, once you get like the 16 bolts out that hold that on, what you're looking at right here, you can see your oil filter. So your oil filter, and then your drain plug right here. They're right next to each other. It's really easy to drain. The filter is sometimes pretty stuck on there, but we're gonna see if we can get it off. It's also a good point to mention is, just do a look around. It doesn't hurt to look underneath here and see anything that's blown out. Alright, so as long as your oil cap is off up top, this should let all the pressure out, and you should be able to just put your on here and give it a little crank. Now, this is where you kind of go slow, keep pressure on, and you should be able to do it without getting dirty. Doing pretty good here. We got to get this crush washer off. Alright guys, I had to do a little bit of checking first, but this is the oil plug, and you see you got a crush washer here that you put on. I actually never changed mine before, and I didn't know you were supposed to. Because mine was so flat that I couldn't see it. So you've got like a beveled edge with like a half circle, and then you've got like a flat side. What you want is that flat side to go towards the oil pan, and the rounded side to go towards the bolt. I had to look that up, and I'm pretty sure that's right. So like that, you see how it's got that rounded part at the bottom, and then the flat part towards the car. And you just kind of have to spin it down, and then we'll put it back. Guys, sorry about the lighting. You'll see that it's still currently dripping. That is okay. You can go ahead and just put the plug back in. Nice and slow. Make sure you're not cross-threading it, because if you do, it's going to be a bad day. And then tighten her down. Alright guys, so the filter is somewhat loose. These get super tight on this car, and I don't know why. I put them on hand tight, no tighter than that, literally just like a snug up. But this car, some sort of pressure or something the engine builds, snugs these things up so much. You could buy filter wrenches, which is what I use on my wife's car, but since I have this here, of course I don't actually have a wrench that fits the back of this. I didn't actually buy one, so yeah, I just had to manhandle it and eventually spun. It's still pretty tight. Let's take it off. It broke loose. Here it's squeaking. And mess. Because yeah, that's this car. Well, let the mess out. Let that kind of drain out too. And we'll come back. Alright guys, so we got our new oil filter. You want to make sure you rub a little bit of oil around this black ring here. That will kind of help lube it up, make sure a good seal. And then start slow. You definitely don't want to cross thread. It should spin on very, very freely. See, just like that, see, nice and free. And then just kind of tighten it up. You're going to do hand tight. Hand tight is kind of hard to say how much hand tight is, but that's kind of up to you. I just tighten until it feels about right. Just making a good seal, it's not going to come off easy. Then again, clean up. A little bit of cleanup keeps everything fresh under here. You clean up around the bolt so you can tell if it's leaking or not. Because I've seen people say that these crush washers sometimes don't seat quite right, so you might have to start over, which sucks because that's a whole nother oil change. Clean it up. Alright guys, now that you've got your oil drained, your filter and your plug both replaced, that's 100. You got to make sure those are back on. Now you can look in your owner's manual or look online. Owner's manual is better because it's going to give you an exact answer, because some manufacturers have different engine sizes in the same platform. So just kind of make sure you look at that and make sure it's all right. This car is like 5.13 something, so you're gonna need 5 quarts and a little bit more, which I have a little bit extra. If you buy the Z1 kit, it only comes with 5 unless you pay for the extra one. That's just something to keep in mind. So now all we got to do is, since the oil cap's off, we're gonna grab a funnel, and stick it down in there, and then we're gonna grab our quarts oil. We're gonna add 5 first, and then we'll measure out the last little bit. All right, we got our 5 quarts open, and then that's my 6th quart. That's my little bit of used quart that I use a little bit every time. I got our funnel up here. Take it slow because the way this valve cover is designed, where the oil goes in, it will kind of spill out a little bit, which you can kind of see. I've done once. I don't know if you can kind of see it. Man, it's super hard to clean under there, so just take your time. But we're gonna go ahead and put this oil in, see if we can get you set up here. Alright, so you put 5 quarts in. Sorry about the motorcycle in the back. You put 5 quarts in, you got a little bit left. So it is 5.125 quarts, which is 118 point something milliliters. So you go to your wife's kitchen and you grab yourself something that's got milliliters on it, or you can convert it either way. We're gonna fill it up to a little bit between the 110 and the 120 milliliter, and we'll pour that in, and that should be pretty much exact amount. And make sure you clean it before your wife gets home. Back in, and you got your new filter on, and you got 5.125 quarts of oil back in your car for this specific car. Make sure you look it up for your car. Then you can either put everything back together on the underside and let it down and start it, or you can start it, because I'm going to start it to make sure there's no leaks with the new pressure washer on there, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead, do a little start. Now that you got your bottom panels on, all your top stuff done, you got all your drain plugs and everything in, and everything's pulled out from underneath the car, you can go ahead and slowly jack back up the car and pull out the jack stands on both sides, and then let it back down. And then you're gonna want to let it sit for like probably a couple minutes, and then come back and check the check your dipstick and make sure it's on the correct level. When you check it, make sure you're on flat ground. So that it's not pushed back in the oil pan, and you either overfill it or underfill it. If you overfill it, that's bad, and you don't want to do that, and underfill it, of course, is bad as well. So just make sure it's on level ground, check it, fill it up slow. You don't want to overfill. Alright, so we went in and had dinner. Now it's time to check the oil after it's been sitting for a while. Let's see. It looks pretty good at first glance. Wipe it real quick. Probably not going to see that, but it's pretty much right. There's an H mark, and you kind of see it there. It's right there on the mark. And your oil change is done. Alright guys, we're all done with the oil change in the Z. All cars are relatively easy. Some are harder than others though, so like the Passat here is relatively difficult, but the Stratus is super easy. The Z is kind of right in the middle, it's not too bad. Now, you can also check your oil once more, like after you drive it a little bit, but honestly you're probably fine. But now that we're done with that, I just want to thank you guys for watching. I know the videos have been a little bit sporadic. I don't have a lot of mods coming in. This car is kind of expensive to mod, so I plan on buying a daily soon, and we'll be doing a little bit of mods to that on the way. So again, thanks for watching, and remember, always make the dream work and enjoy the view.